If anybody should know you, it's you. Ask yourself these uncomfortable questions and you will get to the truth. Like, hold up. I dibble dabble, okay? Hello, hello. Welcome back to Sunflower Speaks. And if you are only listening, welcome back to Sunflower Speaks More. My name is Sarah. I am a 28-year-old student of life, and I love to talk about spirituality, self-development, and real raw topics. So, as you can see by today's title, we are going to be talking about blank. Y'all can see what we're talking about, but in this moment, I'm not entirely sure. I'm just going to talk from the heart. There are a few topics that I'm going to kind of choose from. I really wanted to talk about rebirthing and rebranding yourself, which also ties into ego death, which can also relate to the fact that we're in spring now, which is all about new beginnings. So I'm, like I said, just going to speak from the heart because, as you all know, I no longer use a script. But first of all, welcome to season 3, episode 3. This is really exciting. It's been a month since I last posted. I'm trying to do better with that consistency, but here we are. I'm glad we are even back today. Amen. So again, I'm just going to speak from the heart, and something that I love that is really cool is that if you're ever confused about the theme of life, or you're ever feeling lost and not exactly sure if you should rest, if you should create, if you should do this or that, sometimes it really can help to look outside the window and see what nature is doing. That is a huge indicator of what we should be doing as well. Like, for instance, we were just in winter, and that's a time of hibernation, rest, laying low, and stocking up. But now we're coming into spring, and this is where the sun comes out and stays out longer. This is where we get lots and lots of rain so that the beautiful flowers can bloom. And much like the flowers, you can bloom as well. And this is the perfect season for that. And so that kind of leads me into what inspired me to do this episode and this topic. Last spring is when I had my first actual ego death. Now, the term ego death sounds a little weird if you've never heard it before, but that's all it is. It's a death of an ego. Now, if you're not sure what an ego is, you already know. I will pull out Google and I will read you the definition. So, ego can be defined as the part of the mind that mediates between the conscious and the unconscious and is responsible for reality testing and a sense of personal identity. So an ego is how you identify your truths, your limits. That's all based in ego. It mediates between the conscious and the unconscious. I'm not sure if you're aware, but your subconscious mind or unconscious mind is running a lot of the show. And your conscious mind is running some of the show as well. But all of that gets entangled into a web of feelings, desires, fears, and that's your ego. Now, a lot of times, your ego is also shaped by trauma, whether that be big traumas or small traumas. It develops fears, and essentially, it is trying to help you survive and not experience the same traumas. And the ego and the brain are similar in this way because they try to create a stage of homeostasis. Now, if you don't know what homeostasis is, I'll read that definition as well. So, homeostasis is the process by which an organism maintains a stable internal environment or balance in the face of external changes. So what that means is trying to self-regulate. It is trying to keep you neutral, which is a survival mechanism. So anyways, back to the point. An ego death is where you let go of all of that and you really start showing up and operating as who you really are. So, I'm going to use my own story and my own examples. So, like I said, last year I had my first ego death in the springtime. During this time, I really had to sit back and look at my habits. It really started with my habits and just not being happy with who I was, how I looked, how I acted. And just for context, that was a lot of drinking, that was a lot of people pleasing, that was a lot of self-sabotage. And I was over it. I was tired of it. I was ready for something more. I always knew that there was more for me, but I was continuously and habitually acting a fool. So I sat down with myself and I said, Sarah, who is running the show? Because it's not you. And that's when it hit me. Now, having an ego doesn't necessarily mean that it is this extreme. I was dealing with alcoholism and unsolved traumatic things, dealing with losing my mother and other childhood things. But for you, it might be something different. For you, it might be an internal fight or flight that is always being triggered by little things. For you, it might be over drinking, but the reason might be different from mine. Much like us, they are shaped by small occurrences and experiences and feelings, and it can become very messy. So an ego death is essentially you deciding that you don't want to operate from that place anymore. You want to internalize who you really are instead of who you've been showing up as. And that is exactly what I did last year. I really sat down and put a pen to paper and asked myself my triggers, and I asked myself, why do I do certain things? And y'all, the conclusions that I came to, crazy. I was doing things for attention. And that is linked to my mother and also childhood things. When I say childhood things, that doesn't always mean childhood trauma. That could literally mean childhood interactions that have shaped who you are and how you think. So for me, yes, there were some childhood things that would cause me to do things in order to be chosen, someone's favorite or everybody's favorite. So anyways, I was sitting down and I had a long list of things, and I said, I don't want to show up like this anymore, because I realized that I had spent so much time tailoring this ego, this avatar that I show up as, and I was neglecting Sarah. So if you can take a moment to think about a situation, an occurrence, an interaction that has shaped your truth about something, whether that is something about a demographic of people or something about yourself. What is that situation, and how does that come up in your everyday life, particularly when you are upset? What triggers you? Why does that trigger you? What happened? And what did that whole interaction cause you to believe and continue believing and replaying and reenacting? What was it? A whole bunch of those little interactions are creating your ego, and you are showing up and putting your armor on every single day, unless you have actively had an ego death. So I would show up to a function. If I wasn't already drunk, I would aim to just get drunk. And I mean like blackout drunk. And to be honest, I don't miss that. Also, during my ego death, I went through a phase where it really got deep, and I started thinking about why I do everything. It had me questioning my every move, and that's what a true ego death does. It's literally you looking in the mirror, metaphorically, and asking yourself, what are the motives to everything? And then it's like, not only yourself, you start looking at other people and you're like, that was ego, that wasn't you, that was ego. I mean, it does make you a little bit more obsessive, but it also makes you more empathetic, because you realize that our egos are little people inside of us that are just trying to belong, just trying to keep us neutral, just trying to protect us, even if we don't need to be protected in that moment. So if you are ever interested in having an ego death, I suggest asking yourself a particular list of questions that I will leave in the description. Ask yourself these uncomfortable questions and you will get to the truth. And guess what? The truth will set you free, because I had to ask myself these questions, and now I am creating who I am. Because when you're operating out of ego for that long, and I had been doing that for almost a decade, you tend to not know who you really are. It's actually really scary and kind of sad, but it's beautiful once you confront that. And I apologize if I sound stuffy. I don't know if it's the lovely allergens in the spring air or what, but I've been sneezing all day. Anyway, It's a beautiful thing when you decide to hold yourself accountable. Check out my episode about self-forgiveness. That is a huge part of ego as well. When it comes to ego, I mean, that can be anger, of course, fear, desperation, loneliness, a fear of being forgotten, a fear of being skipped over. But then also your ego could be you feeling better than someone, feeling like you're above other people, feeling like you are the best thing to walk this planet. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm a very confident person. So sometimes I be, you know what I'm saying? I dibble dabble, okay? I be like, yeah, I'm literally that girl. And I am. But it's important to remember you're not better than anyone. That's when it becomes egotistical. That's the difference between confidence and cockiness. Confidence is confidence, but there is a difference when your ego gets involved. When you start looking around and you're like, I'm literally better than everybody in this room. Why? Why did your ego feel the need to bring that up? Do you feel threatened and you feel the need to affirm yourself? Do you see a reflection of yourself in someone else in the room and you're trying to fight that? Do you feel like you have overcompensated because you feel like you're a less than person, so you let your accolades speak for who you are? I mean, the list goes on, and it gets really personal and it gets really deep. And I love that because that is how we uncover who we really are. Because let me tell you a secret. Hello, you are love. You are love. But when you get ego involved, when you get those human tendencies involved, that vibration changes a little bit. Ego is very strong. So in ego death is all about returning to love. So anyway, last year I decided that I was tired of showing up as an egotistical person. That doesn't mean I didn't show love. That wasn't the issue. It was my internal dialogue that needed my attention desperately. And so once I listed out all of the reasons why I do things, my motives, my triggers, the uncomfortable truths, the false truths, that was my identity on a piece of paper. And guess what? I didn't agree with it anymore. So, in true Sarah fashion, I rebranded. And pro tip, a rebrand does not have to be public. Don't let the word brand fool you. It doesn't have to be for anyone else to see. So anyways, I decided to rebrand and start creating who I was. So I started moving my body. I started taking care of my body a little bit more. I didn't stop drinking just yet, but I significantly slowed down because I had to think about why was I drinking? Why was I drinking that much? What was I running from? What was I hiding from? What was I suppressing? It was, in fact, mostly losing my mother. I never faced it, so I decided to go to therapy and face it. Now, when I went to therapy, there was a lot more that was uncovered. Okay, but at least I went, started healing on purpose, and it was beautiful. And it still is beautiful because here I am a year later, and I was reflecting last Thursday when the first day of spring hit, and I said, oh my God, this time last year I decided to heal. I started choosing Sarah instead of ego. That was one of the best decisions I had ever made in my life, and I want that for you. I want you to sit down and write it out, or you can just think it through. Think about your triggers and think about why things trigger you. Think about why you have anger issues. Think about why you're so sensitive. Think about why you overdrink. Think about why you be picking fights. Think about why you would take their mistreatment just because they're giving you attention. Think about why you keep allowing people to misuse you. Think about why you would do anything to keep their attention. Think about why you don't think you're good enough. Ask yourself these uncomfortable questions, man. The truth is underneath it all. And when I tell you the truth will set you free, this truth will absolutely set you free. Because once you uncover these truths, it's not like they go away, but you can address them. You can catch yourself in the act. And you're like, hold up, I'm better than this. This ain't even me. This is ego. Let me show up as me. And eventually, you will absolutely lay that ego to rest. And when I say eventually, I mean eventually. I am still in my battle with my ego. It takes time. I'm only a year in. Real ego deaths take time, because you have to think about it. Your ego has been building since you were a child. So that's a lot of intentional, deep unlearning. And honestly, it is about the journey and not the destination. So maybe an ego death takes a full lifetime. I don't know. I'm not in a rush though, because the progress is so good. I used to drown my feelings in alcohol. I used to use male validation like medicine. I used to look in the mirror and pick out everything I hated. That was all ego. So if you have the time and the courage to look yourself in the mirror or sit down by yourself and have this uncomfortable conversation, I encourage you to do so. Ask yourself, what is the issue? Matter of fact, last time you were triggered, why? What happened? What happened and why did you react that way? Is it the principal? Why did the principal get you so riled up? Like, what about that is triggering? Those are the types of conversations you have to have. But it's very important to not overanalyze yourself, because then you'll take yourself away from the present moment. Give yourself grace during an ego death. It is not automatic. Like I said, I'm a year in. Yes, I've made changes, but I'm not done. You are not your ego, but it is important to remember that it is a part of you. It's separate from you, but it's also a part of you. It's really weird. The mind is so cool and so weird, but honestly, roll with it. Master yourself. Get to know yourself. Understand why you act the way you do. And the best part about the ego death, you get to create who you are. That's the beauty of getting to know yourself as an adult. You can create it as you get to know it, and then you can create habits and you can habitually become a better you. It really is so cool, because last spring my intention was to stop showing up like a fool. My intention was to stop engaging in alcoholism, to stop prioritizing male validation, to be a better me and to show up more authentically. It is an honor to know myself and to be creating myself as I'm getting to know myself more. I encourage you to do the same. Get to know you and get to understand your ego. It will help you problem solve so much more. It will help with communication. It'll help with your interactions. Oh my God, I wish everyone could go through an ego death. It also helps you to be more gentle with yourself, because if you feel yourself melting down, it's like, okay, Sarah, hold on. It's okay. I'm here. It's me. Like, it allows you to baby yourself. And as I always say, this world is cruel enough, so the least we can do is be kind to ourselves. And then of course that trickles down, and you're kinder to others when you're kind to yourself. Your internal dialogue is reflected upon your dialogue with other people. That's a scientific fact. So yes, it is the 1-year anniversary of my first ego death, and I must say I am doing well. I have a lot to work on, and I have a lot to learn. I have a lot to create, but I'm so grateful to be where I am, and I'm so excited that it's the spring season, because it's the perfect time to jump into your own ego death. Ask yourself those uncomfortable questions. Get to know who you are. I feel like if anybody should know you, it's you. So I definitely encourage you to sit down, ask yourself those questions, and get to the root of the issue. You might not like what you find, but at least you found it. And from there, you can grow. I mean, it's not easy and it's not always fun, but it is rewarding, and it is your responsibility to show up for yourself, understand yourself, heal, and return to who you really are. So I challenge you, as I always do, to show up for yourself, not just for you, but for the people around you. Don't you want to show up and be a better you for them and for you? Well, that is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for listening to my story about my ego death and where I am right now. I really appreciate you if you stayed the whole time. Again, my name is Sarah, aka Sunflower. Feel free to follow me on socials. You'll see that in the description box. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And as always, I want to leave you with 2 quotes. The first quote is, "Be the change you want to see." And the second quote is, "You are the greatest project that you will ever work on." So be kind, be real, and keep evolving. All right, y'all. I'll see you next time. Peace.